The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
To the candy shop.
I taste just like candy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ask for Candy, 101 ways to make your love and your life sweeter. I am Candice, HarperLoveCoach.com. I teach and inspire audacious intimacy to powerful, professional, grown real relationships and seductive singlehoods. And I always say dating and relationships can be hard, but love always easy. And welcome back to another week. You are probably listening maybe on your TuneIn app, Armed Radio on TuneIn, or maybe you're in the garden on armedradioglobal.com. We're also now available on iHeartRadio, so all you got to do is go to Alexa and ask for candy. I don't know how any of that works. I try to keep it out of my life as much as possible. But I'm glad you're here with it. I'm glad you're listening. Maybe you're joining us live on Facebook. Hopefully, if you are, don't forget to pop on over to the Creative Love Collective and Armed Radio Group News and join us over there. You'll get all kinds of updates. You'll know what we're doing at every moment. And you can also call in during this broadcast if you have any questions, anything you want to talk about, 1-800-508-5431, or if you're very shy and you just want to send us a little email, askforcandypodcast@gmail.com. We won't be able to answer any questions on air if you email us during the show, but I will definitely answer them in a future show, and I know you'll come back again and again for all of it. So like I said, I'm Candice, HarperLoveCoach.com. My talent is conversation. My passion is personal growth. And my purpose is to teach and inspire radical self-acceptance in myself and others so that we can all have our best possible love life. And I'm so thrilled and excited because coming back for the second week in a row is Dr. Heike Hudson. I'm so happy that you're here. And tonight we are going to be talking about feminine energy. But for those of you who weren't with us last week, I got to tell you a little bit about Dr. Heike so I can introduce her, and then I'm going to let her introduce herself a little bit. So she is a doctor of naturopathy, a clinical sexologist, and one of San Diego's preeminent sex educators, relationship coaches, and somatic sexual healers. She has dedicated her life to helping women reclaim their inner radiant queen, embrace their sexuality, and step fully into their passion and purpose and have incredible relationships. In her 20 plus years of traditional, holistic, and alternative practices, she has found the one missing link for women's ultimate well-being, which is to love herself. I so resonate with that and so agree with that. To be in her body and fully embracing her sexuality. Together with her husband, Dr. Jonathan Hudson, they founded the Sextraordinary Living and the Pleasure on Purpose Healing System, which offers a new paradigm of relationships and sexuality. And her clients come from around the world to experience extraordinary shifts in their relationships, sex, and love lives, business, and health. And she is with us again tonight so that we can deep dive into this idea of feminine energy. Dr. Heike, let the people know who you are, what you're all about.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for inviting me again. And well, you kind of summed it all up in the bio of who I am. And my passion is to take women all the way from their head into their body, into this true embodiment. And of course, sexuality is the key, and the subject that, we still have that little cringing going when we say sex. And so I'm really excited.
Oh, you're breaking today. Up for me a little bit, Dr. Heike.
Sorry about that. Is that better?
That's okay.
So I'm really excited to invite actually the feminine in to be part of this conversation today. Because, I'm also a little bit woo-hoo in all my energy work that I'm doing and all my channeling and intuitiveness, that even though fully in my body, I like to work with my team, and my team is all around me.
I got you. I love that. So it's going to be a lot of spirituality. I think we're going to get into that area of things, right?
We can go there. Yes. Yes. We can go there too.
That is fantastic. So for everybody listening, what this show is about, each week we have lively conversations about different topics relating to love and relationships. Sometimes we bring on special guests like Dr. Heike here. We do games and activities. Always we get a chance to laugh, cry, or just learn something new. And that is why, as always, I want you guys to remember that this is a conversation. I want you to participate. We're not here to just hand down a bunch of dating and relationship rules or, what's right and what's wrong. This is not a tips and tricks kind of show. This is about like getting really deep in how we can grow and be communal and supportive and really make transformation in our lives. We're not here to shame anybody's love situation. We just want to create audacious intimacy, seductive singlehoods, and healthy relationships. And you know that we're in our series, The Summer of Sexploration. So, you ready to get started, Dr. Heike? Are you ready to jump in with some chat and some questions?
I am, and I was just listening even around, what your purpose is, and just the whole theme of co-creating. That it's not like one is teaching or one is the boss, and I mean all of that is already we're already in the feminine, just in your introduction of the space that you're holding, because it isn't, the competition has no room in the feminine. We are co-creating. We're working together as a team. Everyone is a leader. Everyone is a student. We're all really in this oneness and doing it together. And so this is one of the biggest things, even in business. I do coach a lot of women, even though it is all about the body and sexuality in my coaching, but even all the way into business, to not do the one man, one woman show anymore, rather than all working together on making this world a better place.
Yeah. Oh, that so resonates with me, because I definitely was one of those people. I always say I used to have lone wolf syndrome. Just so of the understanding that everything that had to be done, I had to do, and I was on my own with things, and so much in masculine energy. This is a good open to this topic.
Exactly, because this is why as women we're so in overwhelm and our adrenals shut down, because we're constantly wanting that masculine energy of in this still masculine world, of doing, achieving, and goals, and planning, and structure, and going. And the truth is that our bodies, our hormonal system is really not built for that. To always have that push through mentality and achievement mentality. That doesn't mean we don't achieve anything if we are more in our feminine, but it's more about the flow. And like you said, not the lone wolf, rather than all of us together. And we have to learn this. We literally have to learn this as women, and also as women to rethink the competition thing, right? Oh, she's smarter, she looks better, she gets all the stuff, and the jealousies and envy that all comes with that, rather than, wow, look at her, she's radiant, she's so juicy and sexy, and how can I support her even more, and how can we work together? Absolutely. So this is a big thing too that keeps us from co-creating, is that there's still so much competition, and the invitation is there to just say, hey, we're all in this together, and what if we all support each other in our greatness and achieving our highest version of ourselves?
Absolutely. Oh, I love that, especially having grown up with sisters. I absolutely love that. Now, with that said, for the people who aren't really necessarily familiar with the language of feminine energy, masculine energy, a lot of times I think people automatically attribute feminine energy to gender, or just things that it might not necessarily have anything to do with it, whether you like pink, things like that. So just for people's understanding, and to just kind of include everyone in the conversation who maybe hasn't heard of it, explain a little bit about what feminine energy is in this context, in this conversation.
Yeah. So we all have the yin and yang inside, right? The masculine and the feminine energy, and it's really like a quality that we all have. Men and women both have masculine and feminine aspects. And like I already started, the masculine is what we perceive as the masculine gets shit done, right? It's like this, there's the structure, there's the logic, there's the goal oriented. It's all very linear. And in the feminine, there's all of this creativity, working together, intuitive. The intuition is there, and we're not as linear. We're more kind of like in these circles and in this flow kind of state. If we are as women in there, but again, we both have this. So I like the easiest way to explain feminine and masculine energy within is the feminine is kind of like water and the masculine is like the rock. It's solid. It's just really there. And ideally, men or women, we have that masculine like the rock, like a riverbed holding the container in which it's guided, the energy is guided, and yet the feminine can flow. And as we all know, water has all kinds of expressions, and this is why the feminine seems so chaotic at times and changing all the times. Like, as we know, water has from a tsunami to that little mist in the air, all of these different expressions, while the rock is solid and can have different shapes, but can also literally guide our feminine energy. So both of that is within us. And what we see ideally with men too, then having more towards the masculine and the women more towards the feminine, in terms of the energy that they're holding. So it's not like a 50-50. I always say, ideally, you're more as a woman and you're feminine, and you're more as a man and you're masculine. But you can change however you need this. Because if I need to get things done in business, I need to step into my masculine energy so that I can really produce and show up. Yeah. And at the same time, because we're in such a masculine world, as women, we're really being asked to step more into the feminine. How can we bring that into business? How can we achieve things in that flow and in that ease and in that creative energy, and also following our intuition? Yeah. Of, okay, we already know it, right? We all have that inner voice, and a lot of times we second guess ourselves. And if we don't listen, things are just getting harder. We're getting more stressed out, and then we're trying to push, and all of a sudden we find ourselves again fully in this like tense, rigid energy, which is the masculine. And at the end of the day, we're exhausted. So I see it as a pendulum. If the world right now is still all based more on masculine energy, then how can we go from here all the way to here to actually get to experience this part, and then find the center from where we can dance to the masculine, to the feminine? Because it literally is like a dance. It's like an internal dance of, okay, now I need a little bit more of this, and now I need a little bit more of that. And that actually does create the flow, especially for us as women, but also for men. Right? We're all in our heads now. And that's, the biggest thing of my coaching, being in our head and in our thinking and in our logic is the masculine energy. Yeah. So we experience ideally from our bodies and from emotions, feelings and sensations, sensuality and pleasure as our birthright and the thing that feeds our feminine the most.
Oh, I got it. I love it. Now listen, I see that Keisha and Rebecca and Lee are on. You guys, I know you like to jump in on the conversation. I don't know if you were listening to what Dr. Heike was just saying about feminine energy, which was absolutely beautiful. It also made me think of, this idea that those of us who are in this personal growth world or in a space of wanting to grow ourselves, you were talking about how, the way I interpreted it is that the human existence needs to find that balance, right? But it has to start with each of us individually. And even though we work through relationships and, the male-female relationships or just the love partnerships, whether it's same gender or whatever, even though we work through those things, it's like that is sort of the starting point, right? It's like the more people who are willing to sort of, take on an exploration of how we can use our energies or allow our energies to flow, the more as humanity we'd be able to do that. Maybe we just start getting along a little bit better and the whole world would change. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, because, mostly as women are being asked right now to step into our feminine. And when I hear women all around me, they are noticing or knowing, and whether it's from like their intuition or they read something, they know that they want to step more into their feminine.
Yeah.
It's like we are already aware that somehow in this world, the masculine is running the show. And in order to make that shift, also to make the world, like you just said, to make the world more balanced, we do need both of it. We can't just be so goal oriented. We have to think of in that oneness, right? And we're all in this together, which does not mean now the women have to figure this all out and they have to take over because the men have ruined it all. It's really the men have too been in that. So I'm always very, very aware of and very expressive of, it's not about shaming men that we are where we are today, right? It's really about all of us realizing how imbalanced we are, then creating that balance within first, and then into our relationships, and then obviously everything and everyone else is basically affected by it in a positive way.
Yeah. Without being attached to how we're changing the world, just starting internally, right? Like from that internal space. But let me ask you this, because I live in New York, and clients that I work with and other workshops that I've been in, I participate in a lot of women's workshops, and and also personal growth that involves men too. But one thing I find when I go into these sort of feminine energy spaces is that, especially because this is such a survival city, that there are so many of us, myself included, I can so easily go into my headspace. There's so many of us that are just so far in our head that we don't even like it's foreign to even consider going into the heart space or going into the intuitive space, even when we can talk about it. Like the idea of actually letting ourselves be that vulnerable, or sharing ourselves in sort of an expressive, authentic, emotional way, especially when it comes to the dating space. I feel like it's just, my mission as a coach is to find that shift, right? So, the work that I do, the exercises I do are all about like finding that shift. But what do you feel is sort of the, or do you feel like there is sort of a key or sort of a magic word that can be said that can pull somebody, from that space? Like, and I don't even mean in a like light switch kind of way, but just will allow someone who really has been fighting it or resisting it access and the openness to want to do it. Because I feel like, we talked about it last week. A lot of it has to do with fear. But what is something that you feel like is sort of a light bulb moment, or sort of a transformational moment, something that can inspire that for someone else?
We got to get into our bodies. Again, when we talk about the feminine, it is about the experience. It is not about talking. Like we experience with our full bodies, and to really get in touch with our bodies is the number one. And what the problem is in between is that for thousands of years, it hasn't been safe to be in a female body.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the bottom line of it, right? We have been shamed, we have been traumatized, we have been raped, we have been killed in the past for our wisdom, prosecuted, and we all carry this collective memory of being a woman is not safe. Whether we have a personal experience or it is really, I don't know how everyone else's take is on past lives, but it's definitely generational where we can look as well. It just hasn't been safe in this world to be a woman because it feels like we're under constant attack.
Yeah.
And it's about the body, it's about the body image, and then definitely around the sexuality. And so staying here in this area is just safe. Right? Yeah. Or even conscious spirituality, even higher, is safe. We can maybe go to the heart, but anything below that takes us into our body. And the subconscious basically gives us the message, no, it's not safe. We can't go there. So let's just be smart. Let's just be logical, and let's be linear so that we are protected, because it's another masculine energy, protection. Yeah. Right. And it's literally like a survival mode that is tied to fear. So coming back to the original question, it is really about experiencing the body. And number one, what I said earlier, is about pleasure, is about our senses. Our sensuality and our pleasure is the things that make it more enticing to come into this body. Yeah. And we also, we don't move enough. The feminine is in constant moving, right? When we talk about the inner feminine, it's in constant movement, and literally circles and swirls and figure eights. And so even if we go work out, a lot of times we have like the machines, right? It's a total linear workout. Even yoga, as much, we talked about this before, and I know you do yoga too. I love yoga. And yet it still is very linear. It's actually a male practice, a masculine practice as well. Like the old gurus, everything is the masters. And once again, there's not like, we can't sit in yoga and do a little hip swing, right? Because it's again, there's structure in it, and we have to follow it. So experiencing our body in dance, for example, but once again, not someone telling us how to dance, rather than how does this body want to move, and feeling everything with all of our senses engaged, right? Touch, smell, sight, taste, so that we can really step into that feeling again through our body, not through our heads.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I totally agree with that. I'm a big yoga advocate, but you're absolutely right, because I can tell the difference between when I used to dance, and I used to, even like dance classes where you have like, moments of freestyle and stuff like that. It's so different. You're right. You get an opportunity to really like experience yourself as the curves and circles and, like you said, figure eights that you are. And I can totally see how. So I guess the recommendation would be, to find, first of all, more orgasms, like we talked about before, right?
I haven't even gotten there. You're on the fast track today. I love it.
Right. I think it's only because my anxiety kicked in earlier, and I'm like, my coping mechanism is to go into my body. So I'm like, sometimes I handle it that way.
Let's just get the biggest thing right into the room, and we're good.
That's what it's all about anyway. But there's a yoga teacher who actually says, and she's on YouTube, she always says, find what feels good. And I love that phrase, because I think it's exactly what you're talking about, right? Like you were saying, all our different senses, and how do you just get into like your body and how it like senses the world, and how it moves in spaces and things like that. And I know, especially like, because I know my New York ladies, that a lot of them are listening and being like, oh, shut up, like, stop it. Like, I work, you know what I mean? Like, New Yorkers are very quick to be cynical about this sort of thing.
I know. I've been in New York, and I love New Yorkers, because I'm from Germany, and New Yorkers are the closest to German mentality. It's like, boom, like, put it down on the table. And so, I mean, so real. I love New Yorkers. They're kind of like my people. Yeah. And I get it. New York, even when we talk about energies, like the East Coast is so much more masculine than the West Coast. Yeah. Everything here is a little bit more tra-la-la, and maybe I'll call you tomorrow, and let me first sit with it. And so you don't get business done like in New York, which I actually appreciate. It's like, okay, I really want to do this. How much is it? How can I sign up? And let's go. So there's a beauty in all of this, right? And to really find the balance, right? I don't think the Midwest is the is the solution for that. To just kind of me. So, we're
slowly creeping.
I know. Like we're meeting somewhere in the middle. So in the meantime, we're just visiting each other. But so there is both of that, and And yeah, it's not about adding another thing to it. It's how can we incorporate that? And even if it's just, time outside in nature, and even if we can just find one tree and just tap into that, right? I'm famous for being the tree hugger. When Jonathan met me in his total, logical mind, and he's like, okay, well, she's hugging trees, but she's hot and sexy, so whatever. But really the connection with nature, because ultimately it's Mother Earth. So Earth is, and nature is, the biggest feminine representative. There's a constant cycle going on of death, and then spring and summer and like rebirth, and it's a continuum where we see the feminine so at work, including pollination and growth. So even going out in nature or at the beach, putting our feet into water, like I said, the feminine is water, and that's why we love bath and shower, all of that. I mean, there are easy things, and then even at home, put on the best, like your favorite music, and dance like no one's watching. There is the saying, and just, it doesn't take, another hour of your time to say, oh, now I have to do this, rather than ideally it's a constant thing. Like even before this podcast, before I walked down the hallway and I did some hip swings, and in that moment, I mean, everyone who's sitting there, you can just do this and start swinging your hips, and you can feel it. There's all of a sudden things are loosening up, and wow, it's not that hard, right? That's the thing too. We think in order to get from A to B, it's going to be 20,000 steps. That's again the masculine. It's here. It's always here. So just a little bit more of this body awareness, or eating that piece of chocolate, but really like you mean it, like a lover's kiss, like with full presence. It takes that 1 minute that can shift everything. So that's another thing that I see over and over. Don't make it so complicated. It's actually really easy. It's more complicated to be in the masculine and to figure this all out here, rather than looking for how can I let the body lead, because the body is the feminine. Yeah.
It's also a lot more stressful, I feel like, to be in the masculine. Like just
I mean,
if you
serious.
Right? If you want like instant stress relief and like even weight loss, and you want to be able to just get rid of that cortisol in your body, stop trying to like control and figure everything out.
That easy.
Right? Stop trying to make people do what you want them to do. Just let it all go.
Yeah.
It's so true. But
and what you just said, it's letting go, and it is that surrendering.
Yeah.
And in that surrender, you will find the flow.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's men and women, right? It's like, yeah.
Because, men too, they can use more feminine too, in a sense of being more in the flow, having it be more easy, because of course they have intuition as well. We might have a little bit more access to it if I generalize. I don't like really to generalize, but to make that the difference between the feminine and masculine energy clear, we might be a little closer to our intuition, but that doesn't mean men don't have that. They have a gut feeling.
Yeah.
So it's there. Everything is there. And yet everyone seems to want us to run in this go-getter attitude all the time, and using a lot of muscle. So I still get my goals met, but I use a lot less muscles today. And being in business with Jonathan, it took him a while the beauty is like just before this call, right? He sets up the technology. He's so amazing showing up with all of the technical heady stuff, and I can just show up. But even in business planning, it took him a while to surrender to my lead, in a sense, to the feminine lead of, well, this doesn't feel right. I don't want to go there. And he's like, but there's the money and there's this and there's that and all the logic. And it doesn't feel right. Yeah. And so with a few scenarios where he still said, let's do it. And I'm like, okay. it was stressful, it was a disaster, or it didn't have the outcome that we wanted. While other times I don't even look at an event, for example. I see the headline or something, I say, we really need to go. And he's now at that point, it's okay,
like, all right,
he's going, right?
Like trusting your gut, trusting your intuition.
Exactly. And so obviously in a relationship and in business together, it takes a lot of trust, and it does take a lot of inner connection of where do I feel it? Do I still feel it here? Or do I feel it all the way in my womb space? I don't even call it gut space as a woman. It's a womb space that holds all the ancient wisdom and is connected to everything.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Like, hi, Amy. Amy Troni's here. She says, hey, gals. And Keisha, Kenya, I just want to say hi to all the people that are coming in. So it's beautiful that you brought up Jonathan, because here's going to be my next question. Well, and Jennifer, hi, Jennifer joined us. What is your advice for men who, are in these relationships with women or dating women, and, even though they might not necessarily give it this language, but they're running up against, there's a lot of, they're feeling competitive, and they're feeling like the women that they're with are coming up against their masculine energy. What would you advise to a man from a woman's point of view, how to inspire feminine energy in a woman?
Well, it takes two to tango, right? So I actually, first and foremost, see it more for women, the challenge to get into their feminine so that we can surrender to the masculine lead. Because we don't want to be overpowered. We don't want to be told what to do. Of course, no one likes that. And yet, what I see in my relationship coaching over and over, and this is why the sexiness is gone and the polarity is not happening, is that there's two men actually showing up.
Yeah.
And that's actually where the fighting is, where the confrontation is, because all of a sudden we have two kings, because the woman is not in her feminine.
Yeah.
Because, and me too, I'm such a strong woman. I can carry my own bags. I can plan everything. I can get everything done. Yeah. And so for me, it was really dropping that and giving my man more and more the opportunity to show up and to be the gentleman and to be the honey, I got this kind of man, right? And I don't think men can just take this away from women. Yeah. Like, to me, what I see over and over is women actually need to take the first step to say, okay, I surrender. I surrender to your lead. Now, in order for us to do this, we do need to trust. We do need to know that our men are showing up and that they are accountable and that they really do what they said they do. Yeah. And so that is actually the first thing for men to, okay, if you say this and you're going to do this, then do this, because in that we feel the trust growing where we know, okay, he got this. And so he can take the lead. So for men, it's actually more the level of confidence and groundedness in their bodies. Mm-hmm. But women need to also be able to then release that lead more and more. It's literally like dancing, right? Like men lead on the dance floor and women can dance around and make this whole thing look so beautiful. Yeah. But the men need to, I need to know as a dancer that my man can lead me, that my man knows the steps, that my man has the confidence to lead me. And that goes all the way into the bedroom. Yeah. So it's a constant dance. It's that inner dance that we just talked about, but it's also in relationships. So men stepping into their leadership while still being in constant communication with the woman because of her intuition too. She's a leader as well. Yeah. But she leads different than a man. And like I said, just always come back to the dance floor. Yeah. We still have the lead in and within that riverbed container that we talked about before. So we do need to know that a man stands by his word.
Yeah.
And that he follows through, and that he got this. And then taking it further, obviously I could rave now for half an hour about Jonathan, but he's so good at giving compliments, at acknowledgement, at really however he can support me and make my life easier and happier.
Yeah.
And I am in full appreciation of that as well. I don't take it for granted.
Yeah. I mean, in what I'm hearing too, in what you're saying, is that, and I absolutely agree with you. I definitely think that we are all, as women, responsible for inspiring our own feminine energy. But, based on the question, what I'm hearing also in what you're saying is that what men can, for the men who are listening, who the woman that they're dealing with is not listening and maybe isn't tuned into the possibility of her feminine energy. What I'm hearing from what you're saying is that it's about this sort of the positiveness of masculine energy and being confident and okay with that.
Yeah, that's one step.
Yeah.
And now we can get to orgasm.
I love it.
Because it literally, we have this. I have this saying, as above, so below, for women. And I guess I'm going to start there. And I almost have to give myself a flow chart so I don't get off subject here. But when we look at women, it is really as above, so below. And that means we have two sets of lips.
Mm.
We have lips here, and we have lips down there, right? And we're doing a little anatomy. As I told you, we're going there now. And our tongue is basically our clitoris, and our G spot is the palate that has this spongy, not spongy, but this rough kind of palate. Uh-huh. This is our G spot. And so the reason why I'm talking about this is that our G-spot is literally our second brain. Mm. So if we're too much in our heads, and we have a man who can actually take us out of our heads, meaning out of our masculine, basically, all the way into our feminine, and is skilled, and we know, again, he has the confidence, we can surrender. Yeah. And we will, he will inspire our feminine, but just not from here. Yeah. Rather than from here. Because, again, to continue this, our throat tissue is anatomically exactly the same tissue as our vaginal canal. Okay. So and this is why we compensate with eating a lot when we're sexually unfulfilled. Mm. Because if we don't get it from below, we'll do it here.
Yes, cake.
Yeah.
Chocolate cake.
Exactly.
That is so true.
Right. So to inspire the feminine, there is there's the compliments and there's the beauty, and but there's literally in the bedroom where you can take a woman out of her head. Mm-hmm. Because, and that's a lot of women too will have problems in the bedroom to get out of their heads. So it requires, after a lot of warm up and everything, and appreciation, again, sensuality, right? Touch everywhere, appreciating the whole body, to then only get to genitals and all of that. And yet, it is once everything is clear, and that's obviously a lot that we do in our sexological body work. It's really, you can go quickly there and get yourself out of the head even. And it's not about the warm up, rather than, okay, second brain, I got to turn this on. I got to just kind of drop again out of my head into my body. So that's one of the big things too, how the men can support us to really coming into our bodies. Yeah. And we, in order to get out of our heads, it's not like going higher spiritually. It's really going lower all the way in. And obviously orgasm is a whole other subject because there's a masculine and feminine orgasm as well. So even there, we're doing it in the masculine way, right? It's all goal oriented, and it's only successful when we're actually climaxing, and we got to get there, and we got to tense everything up to get there. And once again, it's the masculine way. Like the female orgasm can be a full body orgasm lasting for minutes, all the way up to half an hour or longer. And most women have no clue what is possible there, because who teaches this?
No one. You do.
But us.
Right. Our mothers certainly didn't teach this.
No, and yeah, it's ancient wisdom, and yet because it is so powerful and it gets us so much quicker in touch with our feminine, and the feminine and women are so powerful, we've just been shamed around our bodies and sexuality because this is our power center. And in order for us to be fully embodied and to really work our magic that we naturally carry, this is the place to go. And again, our business, we've built this business up only through sex magic. Isn't that fun?
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
Through that, rather than, okay, I gotta, plan instruction. Not that we don't do that, but every morning is a boardroom meeting with Jonathan and me to just really bring that creative, juicy, highly potent energy in and channel it into the day.
That bow chicka wow, kerching, kerching.
Yeah.
I hear that. What also is coming up for me in what you're saying, when you mentioned about, it really resonated with the throat and the vaginal canal and like the similarities between the two. But also, we use food as a sexual substitute, but we also use food and drugs and alcohol to numb our bodies and numb our feelings and, numb our physical sensations, I think a lot of times, because it can be an expression of our emotions, like when we feel sadness or when we feel anger, rather than feel those things and allow them to process through our body, because they do. I mean, I don't know. For me, if I'm angry, I definitely feel it in my whole body. If I'm sad, or if I'm really, really happy and exhilarated. I also think that it's really good to be cognizant of how we, use things to sort of like not only feed these upper sexual organs, but also as a numbing tool, right? It's like, I feel like that's tied together.
Well, we're actually only really numbing our brains. That constantly get in the way of having full pleasure, which we can see at all times. If we are tipsy or even drunk, we actually go for sex so much easier. And we oftentimes the next morning we're like, oh gosh, what did I do? Right? We regret it. So I don't think we numb our bodies as much as really trying to get out of this head. It seems like such a stressful place to be, and yet we're hanging out there so much. So again, as above, so below, we like going into the body. We know this when we go and work out, no matter what kind of workout, we're getting out of our heads. So, and
I mean, it's like, and I get what you're saying. Like, it's an effort to get out of your head.
Yeah,
like
it is.
Effort.
Or like I said, we can drink something or take any substance, and we are freer. Right? I don't know if we numb ourselves. No, I'm not talking about antidepressants and all of the other things that are out there, because that truly shuts down a lot, and even the ability to orgasm, and we men do experience erectile dysfunction and everything because of certain drugs. But then we have to weigh, right? What is more important? But where do we start? And there's so many ways where I say sexuality is the answer, and this is why you even said it in my bio. For me, it is the missing link. Like, I've studied naturopathy, and also the mind in terms of coaching and energy work and homeopathy and this and that, like all alternatives that are out there. But no one ever addresses sex.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
And it is the glue. I mean, if we talk about the body is made through the act even of sexuality and reproduction. So why wouldn't sex also be the main remedy to stay young, to stay vibrant, to regulate all of the systems, and literally as the number one health promoter? And I can say this, I can definitely say this for myself, because when I walked out of my last marriage, I was very, very, very sick. And I had different modalities, but definitely stepped into the feminine.
Yeah.
And I just dove in, and I wanted to hear and see everything. And then I dove into sexuality and said, wow, with all my years of spiritual counseling even, and meditation and energy work, I would have never even gotten there. So you talk about the masculine and the feminine that needs to be balanced.
Yeah.
It's also the spirituality and sexuality that needs to be balanced in order to feel that wholeness and that completion. And the not funny thing is that spirituality is actually the masculine energy. And we would not think that, how society plays out, that feminine is actually the sexual energy.
I mean, it makes sense. I've never thought of it like that, but the way that you're saying it absolutely makes sense. But how did you said that you turned to sexuality after coming out of a bad marriage and being sick, but what was it that inspired you, and how, what did you do was it just more self-pleasure, or you just started on a journey of learning more?
It was obviously a combination. I had a highly jealous, so I learned everything in my past marriage, what love is not. Including him being very, very jealous. So me talking to men was like, I couldn't even talk to men, and he would think I would already be doing something. So I had to dress less and less sexy. He didn't even like me wearing heels anymore. So all my sexiness got kind of sucked out. And so my body started shutting down, and at the end I could barely walk. Like my hips were frozen. I could barely get into the car. My energy was super low. I was like this shriveled up raisin, and it was basically, again, my sexual center was shut down, attacked, suppressed, whatever. I don't consider myself a victim because, I decided obviously too okay, I got to get smaller and smaller so he feels comfortable. So when I went out there, dancing was the number one thing. So, I mean, we're doing somatic body work with people here, but if there's one thing, dance to me was my first somatic way to move out, and it was really freestyle and really in this community, dancing however I wanted to. And at the beginning, I would sit more than anything else because I couldn't even move. But I kind of started moving this whole thing, and if tears or emotions would come up, I just let them flow. And step by step, I gained my mobility again. And then I went to a wild feminine workshop weekend. And that was my breakthrough, because there was so much that I didn't know right? And it was literally an awakening for myself, which I call sexual awakening at age 45. And so from there, I put my hands on all kinds of books too, and Tantra, and I really wanted to know how all of this works. And then I came across Jonathan, and I said, well, I don't want a partner anymore. What are you doing here? And yet I said, okay, lover is good, because I'm anyways in my whole freedom experience right now here. And I already was there when we met. And he showed me ways, because he has studied human sexuality for 25 years. It was literally spirituality meeting sexuality, and then learning from each other how to blend all of that. And so within both of us, we established this wholesome, balanced relationship of masculine and feminine, but then also in our relationship together, the whole dance of the masculine and feminine all the way to business. And that's why we're teaching all of that today because we just believe the world needs to know how to really integrate sexuality as something normal, something fun, something organic, and we all make it our own way of expressing. It's like with anything else. We all have different needs or desires or preferences. And to co-create that for yourself, but then also with your partner, rather than thinking everyone does it like that and it needs to look like that.
Yeah.
It's like in dance, right? I mean, not only are there all different dance styles when you look at partner dance, but even within that, everyone finds their own style. And so that are the biggest, teachings and coachings that we deliver, is that we make it our own. And sexuality, we got to go there. We got to go all the way in order to feel complete. And like we got superpowers.
Yeah. I got you. I mean, what I'm hearing is just, it's being willing to explore it, because I think that, a lot of times that's the only avenue in. I feel like, I know for myself, I spent a lot of my adult years with a certain relationship with sex that wasn't healthy or freeing. It was actually very, obligatory, or it wasn't about me. It was about the other person, it was attached. And also then there were the times in between where there was, like dry spells where it's either a choice not to do it, and it's a very like trying to control it and thinking that that's the way. But in what you're saying, what I'm hearing is like that it's really just about the willingness to explore it, and then the answers kind of come. Like if I'm someone who, I think about some people that I have that listen who, they really have shut off that part of their lives in a big way. So even to go someplace, and I also think from what you were saying, because I've been in the same position you were talking about, coming out of a bad relationship where it's almost like you're a little bit hitting rock bottom. Like I had a similar thing where there was a lot of physical things going on that were just really bringing me down. And it's funny because a lot of it was in the womb space, and a lot of it was, like you were talking about, like in the hips and things like that. And I think anybody who's listening out there, you don't have to wait until you get to that point. Like the sexual exploration and the, openness to how your feminine energy can be released and inspired through that can start at any point, right? And it doesn't mean you have to immediately get naked if you're not quite yet comfortable. Like from what I'm hearing, you're saying it's the willingness to just get out there and maybe be a little uncomfortable at first, but move yourself around and sort of sense the world in a new way, I guess.
Well, it really, once again, it starts with your head, and your head kind of needs to be on board. And so there is this, what are my beliefs around sexuality and my body? Yeah. Right? What are my stories? What is my past experience? Is there trauma? So the whole, I think I said it in the last in the last podcast as well. It's like that. We have the self-discovery going already, right? Yeah. With personal growth and everything, but the sexual self-discovery is the next step. It really is the next step of who am I there? And like you said, a lot of women, especially women, are so unfulfilled when it comes to sex that we think something's wrong with us, or that we're non-orgasmic, or that we don't even want to have sex anymore. And of course not. It is like this. We know intuitively there's a 5-star gourmet meal that fills us up on all levels. Yeah. And the McDonald's is just not going to cut it. It's that little snack. When I look around, I see women starving sexually. Yeah. Literally starving. 85% at least. I actually think it's even more. I just go out, and it doesn't matter how nice they look. I see starvation, depletion, malnutrition, and that is on the sexual level. So how can we do this? And if women are single right now that are listening to this, do for yourself. This is the best time to do the self-discovery on all levels. And then within a relationship, it does take communication and communication skills and to really see how can we make this better. And of course, whether it is for singles or for couples, that's what I love doing. Is like, where are you at? Where do you want to go? And it is a slow process. I'm not starting with, sexuality actually, rather than, okay, we got to see what's happening here. How do we get this on board? What happens in the past? And then we can move deeper into it. And sensuality is the first step to it, and activating all of that. And then, but there's also a lot of knowledge, right? Some of the things that I've just shared, we just don't know. And it's such an exciting journey when we say, well, these bodies give us one seed and we can make a whole baby.
Right?
A whole new body with one
miraculous.
Seed in our womb space. So what else is possible in there?
Yeah.
I mean,
wait, Dr. Heike, I hate to stop you right for a second, because we're going to wrap with Armed Radio people. Okay. We can keep going a little bit on the live broadcast, but we're going to wrap with Armed Radio. So I just want to let them know how they can access you if they're listening out in the Armed Radio world. So they can go to sextraordinaryliving.com, right? And what's another way if people want like a discovery call or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. The easiest way is to go to sextraordinaryliving.com, and you can also there, when you sign up for our newsletter and get more information on a regular basis, you also get more goodies that are on there, and you will find there a place too where you can actually book a strategy session with me and to really see where you want to go. And I understand it's a private, intimate, new area, and I'm happy to see how we can help here.
Okay, thank you so much. On Radio Global people, thank you for listening in. Next week I'll give you the